Okay, I think I've just let the last person in, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dina Miller. I'm the Executive Director of the Superior Chamber of Commerce. And I've been partnering with the Town of Superior, Jill Mendoza, to provide this second virtual meeting for businesses to hear some up-to-date information and for us to hear from you on what your needs are, and so we can develop strategies to help you. Thank you, Mayor Folsom, for joining us. And in a moment, I'm going to ask him to say a few words. I wanted to, if I may, just quickly go over the agenda so everybody knows what we're up to today. We're going to do some introductions. We have some fire recovery updates, and we're going to then share some resources. We'll be doing a roundtable if possible, and then open discussion. Let me just make sure I have everybody admitted who's attended. I would like for now, if we could start with Mayor Folsom, if you would like to say a few words.
Great, thanks, Dina, and welcome everyone to the meeting. I appreciate the Chamber for taking an active role in this disaster, much like 2 years ago during the COVID emergency. At the start of that, the Chamber stepped up immediately and provided some much needed support to our businesses and community as a whole. And I'm pleased to report that many resources for residents and businesses have already been open for over a week, and such as the Disaster Assistance Center in Lafayette. We've had many impacted businesses in Superior and surrounding communities are already open, and more are scheduled to open this week. During our board meeting on Monday night, our Economic Development Director, Jill Mendoza, gave us a thorough report on her efforts thus far, which included contacting every business in town. And we're really grateful to have her working on this very important task. So now I'll turn it back to you, Dina, and I think over to Jill.
Thank you. Jill, would you like to say hello before I introduce our other guests?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jill Mendoza, and I'm the Economic Development Manager for the Town of Superior. My heart goes out to all of the businesses and families that were impacted by this event, and it is our goal to help get the community rebuilt and build back even stronger than ever. We're excited to see how many businesses have already begun the reopening process, and we just ask for your support in helping these businesses to continue to thrive. They've experienced significant challenges with COVID, and then on top of that, to have an event like this interrupt their business has just been devastating. So it really requires the support of the whole community. And today we're going to share some resources that are available to businesses so that you can find what tools will help you in the recovery process. But most importantly, Dina and I want you to know that we're here for you, and you can reach out to us at any time with any question. We will be responsive and point you in the right direction. So thank you for joining us today, and I'll turn it back over to Dina to introduce our panel.
Very good. And just quickly on behalf of the Chamber, we realize it's been a very difficult week for our residents and our businesses and employees, and we know everybody has been impacted some way. So please know on behalf of the Chamber Board that our thoughts are with you, and we're here to support you and provide you with any resources possible. If you know anyone who can benefit from this information but is not here, please share later our email that we'll be following up with you. You can forward that to people, and then also we'll be putting this recording on the website. With that, I wanted to introduce a few other people that have joined us. Trustee Ken Lish here from the Superior Board of Trustees. And then also we have two representatives from Representative Nagusa's office. So thank you for joining us. Also, we have Lane Drager today from the Consumer Protection, Boulder County Public Health, and she is the Consumer Protection Coordinator. Thank you, Lane, for joining us. And Dan King is a consultant with the Boulder Small Business Development Center. Thank you, Dan. And Rick Tillery is a public information officer for the Small Business Administration. And then we also have Workforce Boulder County Representative Kate Cook on the line. So we have these very knowledgeable people here to help us and to help answer any of the questions you have about resources. Very quickly, I just wanted to share some technical details. We're in a virtual meeting, so it's a little bit different than some other meetings you may have been in. I don't have control of your mute exactly, so please keep yourself muted until it's your time to speak. And then when we get into our discussion and questions period, please raise your digital hand and wait to be called on to share your thoughts. And with that, we will go ahead and get started with who is first. Lane Drager from Boulder County Public Health, would you like to give a report on any updates?
Thank you so much for having us. And again, we're dealing with yet another tragedy. So our thoughts are with you, and we're doing everything we can on our part to now switch gears with folks to deal with yet another issue while we're still dealing with the surge of yet another variant of COVID. So don't want to lose sight of that as people are congregating and getting together to support each other. Don't forget we're dealing still with that pandemic. So make sure you use precautions, but let us know what we can do. We've had staff out in Superior, and Louisville area to work specifically with the restaurants, getting those reopened, but definitely want to share additional resources and point folks to where you can go to get more resources. The Marshall Fire Site, if you haven't been there, has a huge host of resources. So it's going to walk you through a lot of the different hazards and things you need to deal with. One of the other things that people may not be thinking about, they're thinking of all the immediate impacts, physically that the fire has caused, but we really don't want to forget about how important mental health is for those. Again, we've been under stressful times for far too long now, and yet here's another, crisis for the community. So make sure to seek out and get mental health support, no matter what really has happened. This is just a difficult time for all of us. But definitely want to make sure folks have the resources, especially those business owners and property owners, as you're looking at trying to remediate things, if there's, not full loss damage, but specifically those dealing with smoke and ash. We're very excited that both municipalities have been able to reestablish the water. So that's a great achievement on both municipalities. So the water is no longer an issue, but for those businesses that, specifically thinking of restaurants that may have had ice machines or things that were active when the water wasn't so good, just flushing those lines, and we've got guidance for you there. We've tried to make sure to get that in the hands of all those businesses, but if we haven't had a chance to talk to you and work with you in person, please reach out to our environmental health staff so we can make sure to support you doing that. It's important when you're looking at significant damaged areas, especially the ash and smoke, that as you're getting cleanup, getting sort of professionals to help support that, especially cleaning out ducts and things like that. It's also a good idea to get multiple bids. While we have a lot of good folks out there, they're probably going to be inundated with needs. And then unfortunately, sometimes fly-by-night folks show up to take advantage of situations like this. So you want to make sure you're getting reputable folks to support you, and also not asking you to do things that are way beyond what is necessary. But some basic things, when you're thinking of doing that work, it is really important when there's a lot of ash and soot around that you have respiratory protection. So those N95 masks, respirators, are going to be important to protect you. Obviously, that also protects you from COVID and many other particulates, but really important to do. Dry sweeping, even vacuuming without a HEPA filter on that vacuum is going to be very dangerous, because you're going to resuspend those particles, and those are respiratory hazards. So we don't want those to get into your lungs. There's a lot of contaminants in the debris and ash. So it's really important to have those protections. In the businesses, looking at your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors. So the amount of smoke that inundated that area is likely going to make those no longer really valid. So it is important to replace those. Also replacing your air filters on your ventilation systems, your HVAC systems, and looking at what's kind of the highest filter that your system can actually accommodate. So don't just immediately put in a HEPA filter to your HVAC if it really can't support that. So the fans are sized for, you know, certain capacity, and the better the filter, it makes it harder and harder to move air through that filter. So it's kind of that dual competition. So making sure, and if you're really unsure about that, again, professionals can help support you to identify what capacities your systems can handle. It's also important, again, to reach out for any other questions you have. So these are some of the basic things that a lot of the businesses are going to be dealing with, but you may have individual issues. And if you're unsure, don't sort of just try to go it alone, you know, reach out for help. The Disaster Assistance Center is still operational. I know that was mentioned before. There's a lot of resources there to help support folks. And I think there's going to be some other speakers to speak about that as well, but really go there and they can just really help you navigate what you might need that you haven't thought about. This is a really difficult time, and expecting people to have thought of all the issues they need to deal with is a lot when you're already dealing with so much. So feel free to reach out so other folks can help walk you through and direct you to those resources. So, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions when we get to that point. Thanks so much.
Dina, you're muted.
Dina, you were muted. You were
Okay.
muted, so we don't know who you called upon.
Yes, so I would like to let you know, hold your questions for Lane for a few minutes, and we'll do a roundtable in a moment. Next, let's please hear from Dan King from the Boulder Small Business Development Center. Dan, do you have any remarks you'd like to share?
Sure, I'll just share with everybody, just in case you don't know who we are. The Boulder Small Business Development Center is based right here in Boulder, and we've been here since 1994. So we've been here way before this, and we'll be here through it and well after it. Our sole mission is to provide support to small businesses to help them grow, thrive, and survive. Almost everything we do is free of charge to small businesses. We sometimes have webinars that have small fees, but pretty much everything we do is free of charge, and it's 100% confidential. A lot of our mission and what we do is we do one-on-one consulting with small businesses to help them. We have 50 consultants who work with the Boulder SBDC, who almost all of them have been small business owners themselves. They understand what it's like. They understand you don't have all the resources and all the answers that a big business might have. And we have experts in different fields that we can bring in to help you with your specific needs. During the disaster, we will be available to help you navigate any programs that are out there. We can help you if you've lost your financial data. We can help you try to rebuild your financial data so you can apply for some of these loans. But we can provide very hands-on, one-on-one assistance to you with a qualified person to help you do that. We will also very carefully monitor any new programs. We're hoping there'll be some new programs that come out for businesses beyond what are out there right now. We will monitor that. We will publicize those on our newsletter. And we will have people on staff who will know the ins and outs of those programs and can help you look at them and figure out if they're correct for your business. So our website is bouldersbdc.com. And if you haven't registered for our newsletter, please get on our list and we'll try to keep you apprised. And we are available to assist in any way that we can.
Very good, thank you.
Can I just add, the SBDC has agreed to come on site in Superior for the month of January on Fridays from 9 until noon. So if you'd like to meet with the SBDC, they are on site at the Disaster Assistance Center as well. But if you would like closer access, one-on-one to sit down with them, they'll be at the community center starting this Friday, again from 9 until noon, and they'll be there every Friday. And they can assist you with business issues, even beyond the fire recovery. They can help you with any aspect of your business, from operations to finance to marketing, anywhere that you might be struggling with your business, they can help provide assistance.
Yeah, and we will be there in person. You can sign up on our website for if you want to have a one-on-one at any time, basically, and we can do that virtually or sometimes in person. So we are, so like really, if you need to figure out a new plan for how you're going to do all the things you need to get done, we can help you with that.
Very good, thank you. Next, we can hear from Rick Tillery. He's the Public Information Officer for the Small Business Administration.
Hi, I'm with the Office of Disaster Assistance, and we are the division of the SBA that comes and helps out after disasters like Hurricane Ida, where I was for 3 months, and now the Marshall Fire, where I live. This is unusual for me to be deployed home. I'm actually sitting in my house instead of a hotel room, which is where I would normally be doing this kind of call. So this means a little bit more for me because I love the town of Superior. My sister and brother-in-law live there in Rock Creek. So I try for this one to go even further above and beyond what I would normally do because I have such a close tie with the town of Superior. I also used to be a member of the Superior Chamber. So this means a little bit more to me. For the SBA ODA, what we do is we help primarily homeowners, renters, business owners, and private nonprofits with their disaster loan needs after something like the Marshall Fire. We do physical loans and we do EIDL loans, which are economic injury disaster loans. A lot of people first heard about EIDL loans because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the program that we had set up for that, which expired on December 31st. For this disaster, I'll go real quick over the percentage rates for the disaster loans. For homeowners and renters, it is as low as 1.438%. For businesses, it's as low as 2.830%. And for private nonprofit organizations, it's going to be as low as 1.875%. For disaster loan limits for homeowners, for the structure of the home, it's up to $200,000. And that's for what insurance doesn't cover. We're seeing a lot of that, and I feel that we're going to see a lot more of it as we move through this period. For the interior of the home for homeowners and for renters, it's $40,000 capped out, and that's for your possessions that were inside the house and a primary vehicle. Sadly, that does not include travel trailers, teardrop trailers, any kind of RV, boat, or anything like that. It's a primary vehicle that you need to get back to work. And again, that's what insurance does not cover. And for businesses, it's up to $2 million. And that includes the structure, the contents, and your economic injury. And it's also $2 million for nonprofits as well. That includes most churches. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize when they're looking at a disaster and they don't have physical damage, you're going to be impacted, especially everybody who's on this call, because your business was shut down. You couldn't get into it. You didn't have power. You didn't have water. You have suffered an economic injury because of that. So please make sure that you come in and visit us at the Disaster Assistance Center. We're downstairs, co-located with FEMA. And we also have a business recovery center upstairs, where I know the Fearless dance folks were there the other day, and glad to see that they have gone through the process. We're there and we are staffed up and we're ready to help. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I know I just dumped a lot of information on you, but I'm here and I'm local. So I'll put my contact information in the chat bar, along with the website where we have much more information than I can share in a setting like this.
Very good. Next, we're going to go to Kate Cook with the Workforce Development.
Hello. Thanks everyone for all your information and for having us here today. I know it's a very wild time to be navigating so many logistics. And to add to your logistical plate, I'm just going to walk you through the basics of the disaster unemployment assistance. And that is a process that looks much like regular unemployment, which far more people are familiar with right now due to the pandemic. Let me just pull up a few little notes here. And with that process, that's a standard unemployment insurance claim through MyUI Plus. And that most people will see it like this isn't any different. So you're starting it that way. And then the next day you'll get a link for the actual disaster benefits. So that's a question that comes up frequently. I'll pop the link into the chat if you all don't already have it. And then you can also do this by phone and at the Disaster Assistance Center, which people have mentioned on South Public Road in Lafayette. Okay. So for basic needs for applying, you need some records. Again, if you don't have all those records, those can be you can get help recovering those at the Disaster Assistance Recovery with the Vital Records booth. And if you're not able to get some of those records that they have on their website listed, they'll work with folks that may have lost all of their records and those that might not be able to recover some of those. So some of those records look like, a tax return, photo identification of some sort, some sort of bill with your address at the time of disaster, and then the confirmation of a current address. So here are the links for the what you'll hear some people referring to as DUA, the Disaster Unemployment Assistance. And then basic eligibility is that you are in the county that was impacted and that it can qualify for self-employment as well. So if your employment or self-employment was lost or interrupted as a result of the disaster, you are eligible. And the main distinction is between eligibility specific to the disaster that was not the same as regular unemployment. So they'll kind of ask you questions if you call to determine that. And I want to encourage everyone to utilize our service navigation team with the county. They are an amazing, amazing resource. And there are folks that are unfortunately very well versed in helping people with unemployment claims and have been from day one helping people with disaster assistance. So I'm copying this number of our service navigators. And we are not the unemployment office, but we are partially funded by the Department of Labor. And so this number gives you access to some amazing service navigators that can help with that process, or if you're giving this number out to other folks in your circles. They are Department of Labor funded, so therefore they have access to part of that database to help people navigate that process. And so that's that phone number there. And Tina, are you here? I haven't seen your name pop up yet. Oh, there you are. Okay,
yes,
great.
I am over here.
Do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. I think you said I want to introduce myself.
Oh,
Excuse
yes.
my voice, folks. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold here, but I also work with Workforce Boulder County and the Service Navigator team. A couple of things that I just want to cover in addition to what Kate was talking about as far as eligibility. If you were getting ready to commence employment or self-employment, but were prevented by the disaster, if you became the breadwinner or major support for a household because of the death of a head of household member due to the disaster, or if you could no longer perform your work duties or services in self-employment because of an injury caused as a direct result of the disaster, you may also be eligible for benefits. Please do utilize the number that Kate shared there for our service navigator team. If you don't get through, please leave a message. We return those calls pretty quickly. And we are happy to assist you in any way we can. We do have some ways to connect directly with unemployment, which sometimes can be difficult through their direct numbers.
Awesome. Thank you, Tina. And I forgot to say ahead of time that Tina is the supervisor for the Service Navigator team, one of the co-supervisors. So she's a great resource for at the end when people are asking questions. She's got some of those technical answers on that end. The last thing I want to touch on is from the business perspective. If you are a business owner whose business has been highly impacted and damaged, that maybe your building is gone, whatnot. If that outcome of the fire is causing you to do a layoff, we have services with Workforce Boulder County to help you with that process, whether that's a state issued layoff, that's one thing. But if you are doing just kind of a few layoffs and it's not a state issued process, then you can contact me and I'll put some information there. If you want our team to come support, we can put together kind of a figure out just between us, figure out what are the best things that you might need support with in terms of whether that's help with the unemployment process, or maybe that looks like helping find jobs for the folks that are being laid off. I'm going to plop some of my information here because we can kind of customize something for your team. And we have a whole team of people that help folks find new jobs and careers and amazing resources there. And then we have so many services I can't even, begin to go down that path of where there might be, but we can kind of set up a customized thing for your team if you have that. Lily, I don't know if you were here, if you wanted to add to any of that, another team member, but I don't want to overwhelm with you guys with information, but the Workforce Center has so many resources. If you're building, say you're kind of lay everybody off and you're coming back to start up again with a new, whatever that looks like for your team, we can support with helping you maybe find an intern, like an intern program, an apprenticeship program. If you have folks that you're keeping on board and they need to be reskilled or upskilled, we can help with that. There's so many different ways that we can support that maybe our services we've always offered, but might be able to apply to what you're kind of dealing with right now. So I'll pause there.
I think the biggest issue that we've seen with most of the businesses is just their displaced workforce for now. So what's the quickest way that they can manage that and get the information to their employees that would be most helpful for the immediate term?
So for folks that have displaced workers, they have special access to workforce services all over the state, but this is the best website to send them to. It's our general website, but it kind of, there's so many different services that individuals can utilize that they can click on career services. I'll drop that one in as well. Here you go. And that's where they can find one-on-one career support from a career support specialist. And that's more from the individual side. If the business wants to have you all could bring in one of us to talk to a whole group of employees about these things, and that would be someone from the business services team, someone from the career services team, and someone from the service navigation team. And then we can answer a bunch of different types of questions if they had like a handful of employees to do something online like that. But if it's going to be one-on-one, I would go through the career services, or you can give them my email directly that I plopped in there. And then so I know it's a little not the easiest to answer. This is going to be the direct email to the career services team. If it's, I should type it in there. I can send you some follow-up email as well, Jill.
Great. Yeah, we'll just put whatever resources we can in a snapshot for the businesses so that they can know where to go.
Perfect. I will put that all in one little page. I have it already written up, and I can make sure that you have that so they can have 3 easy, clear things to look at to contact. Thank you so much. And that's everything for the moment. And happy to have myself or Tina answer questions when everyone is done.
Great, thank you, Kate. Next we're going to move to just a couple updates for you, Town of Superior. And I think that's Jill. Would you like to do some updates on business recovery and reopening efforts?
Yes, so I have been meeting with all of the property owners, the property managers, and the businesses within each of our commercial centers to gauge where you're at in the recovery process. Many businesses, as I mentioned, had started reopening as soon as last Friday once water was restored. And then we are struggling with the businesses that do have some level of remediation in getting contractors in, getting insurance assessments done, and figuring out the path forward for them to be able to reopen. We want to be sure to provide any support that we can for you. So if you're struggling with some aspect of reopening, please reach out to us. We have been in communication with all of the property managers who are being very cooperative, but if there's something that they're not aware of, we want to make sure that we bring it to their attention as soon as possible. It's pretty clear that at this point, these are all case-by-case basis scenarios. Each of your business has a different circumstance, has been impacted in various ways. And so we recognize that there's not one size fits all approach to helping you reopen. So we definitely want to take the opportunity to listen to you, to hear what your needs are, and to be able to provide whatever support we can or point you to the resources that would be able to help you get reopened. So at this time, we'd like to open it up to the businesses that are on the call to help us understand, one, how you're feeling. It's been almost 2 weeks now, and we recognize this is a really traumatic process. We applaud you for your strength in making the effort to come back and to fight back and reopen. We'd like to know your reopening status, so whether or not you've opened, and if you haven't, if you've been impacted significantly by the fire, what that looks like in terms of if it's something that is temporary within like the next week or two, or is it more long-term impact? And then just open it up for any comments or questions that you may have. So if you would like to speak, I maybe would suggest that they raise their hands, and then Dina can call on you.
Yes, let's do that. Raise your digital hand. And then if you would, there are 30 people on here. So if 30 of you would like to share thoughts, let's try to share as much as you can briefly. Thank you. Let's start with Wendy Person.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. So my name is Wendy Pearson, and I'm a Superior resident of 20 years, even though I know I don't sound like it. I promise I am. And I'm also obviously a small business owner. I own Cactus Wax Studio, which is a beauty salon about 5 doors down from Target. So structurally, it's all good. It's all there. We had a bit of melting on the fire doors and some broken windows, and we're having to replace the ceiling and stuff. But we've got ServPro in doing the remediation for the smoke. And so we're on it, and we're hoping to open it on January the 18th, which is next Tuesday. So I'm absolutely surrounded at the moment by all new product, which I'm keeping in my home. So I can
Hey,
transfer
Wendy, we're having a hard time hearing you. You're kind of breaking up. Maybe turn your video off and then just continue with your comments.
Is that any better?
Say a few words.
Probably not. No. Any better or no? No. Okay, in that case, I'll type my bits in the chat and I'll let everybody else talk, if that's all right.
Yeah, and you may want
That's
to try
fine.
logging back in. I'll watch for you and readmit you if you want to try that.
And another option is to call in Wendy on the phone number.
Okay, all right, I'll let someone else go now. I'll mute myself and we'll try.
Okay, is there anyone else would like to share share your status, etc., or ask a question? I don't see any digital hands up. I'll give you another minute. Is that fearless motion? I see you guys. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
they want to make a comment. If you can go ahead.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I don't know how to raise our hand. But first, we just want to say thank you to the town and to Superior Chamber. We feel so supported. So thank you so much for all of the resources. We do appreciate it. We are scheduled to reopen next Wednesday, December 19th. Tentative, depending on smoke mitigation. Our business is standing. We're in Superior Marketplace. It's just smoke damage that's greatly impacted us. I think our biggest, I think some of our questions is navigating, waiting for word from insurance on what we'll be receiving. And like, an example is the unemployment. So would we apply for that right away, or do we wait to hear about our business interruption from insurance before we apply for anything? So it's kind of like, what should we do now, or should we just wait until we hear from insurance?
Okay, do you want to answer that?
She had asked about applying for unemployment, whether she should do that right away or if she should wait until insurance settles and they can figure out what the impact is.
Yeah, it's a great question, one that we've gotten a couple times, and my face did that because I was like, it's a tough one to completely direct on, because depending on your situation, so many different parts of it, they will guide you in different ways. So unfortunately, I'm going to pull up this phone number which I was grabbing. You have to ask someone directly in the office on that based on your specific circumstances. What we have been told was to still apply for the unemployment benefits to make sure that you get in by, let me copy and paste this in here.
February 3rd.
Yes, February 3rd. And I realized that I didn't say this earlier, so thank you for asking that question, is that for the disaster unemployment assistance, February 3rd is the deadline that they are sharing with us for everyone to get those applications in by. It is possible that will be extended, but that is the hard line right now. And that phone number I popped in there earlier is the same number that I'm encouraging folks to call to navigate those questions.
And Dan
I'm
has.
sorry, I don't have a more clear.
Dan, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, I would also encourage any small business to get over to the Disaster Assistance Center and apply for SBA loan programs now, even if you don't think you will need them. If you get the loan approved, you have a long time you can sit on that approval. And once you have it approved, it's a get out of jail free card. You've got it. If you don't need it, you let it sit and wither on the vine. If you need it, you execute it and the relief is there. But to start that process now, get you through the process. And then if the need arises and you got to pull the trigger, you can pull the trigger quite quickly and get that assistance if you need it. So it's really good, especially when you've got people like Rick and the SBA staff there right now that you can talk to face and, well, mask to mask in person.
Just to pick up on that a little bit, we're going to be here for a while. We are starting our first loan closing on the 15th, but that's just the first one out of 102 loans that have been approved so far. There are going to be a lot more loans that we're going to be approving. And so we're going to be here, I'm going to guess, at least until, well, I know for sure we're going to be here until the March deadline, which is March 1st. That's for physical disaster loans only. The idle deadline for economic injury related to this disaster is September 30th of this year. A lot of times it takes a while for business owners to really get a grasp on how much they lost due to a disaster like this. So we're going to be here for a while. And just like Dan said, I always say that the best thing to do is to come in and talk to someone face to face or mask to mask to work through the intricacies of the application process. Yes, you can do it at home. If that's what your comfort level is, that's great. But the customer service representatives are going to be able to sit down and ask you some questions that you might not think of if you're doing it at home by yourself.
And I would just stress that it's best to have these resources kind of lined up. You may never take advantage of them. So the loan, you may never touch it, but just to have it in case you need it. It's still too soon to really analyze the impact of how this is going to affect you long term. Maybe you have, the immediate impact that you're aware of, but long-term recovery, your customer base, all of that, it's still too soon to determine. So it's best to have, the unemployment insurance benefits set up now in case there is extended unemployment related to your business. And also the loans, you are under no obligation to take them. You would just have access to them if you needed it.
And if I may, I just got an email just now saying, letting me know that I can say this publicly. We're changing the hours or the Disaster Assistance Center is changing its hours. So we have to change our hours to adapt to that. It looks like the new hours are going to be 9 to 5, 7 days a week for now. So until Friday night, we're open until 7, but that's going to be changing to 9 to 5, just to let everybody know on here that is changing.
Thanks, Rick. And Fearless Motion, did you have any other questions?
The only thing I will say is I know that the town and the chamber was just asking like what our immediate needs were.
Mhm.
And I think our biggest immediate need is finding a way to replace the loss of income. But I think that's kind of on the business in a sense. So that's just information for your ears.
Yeah, we are working not only within the town, but within the region, the county, and the state level to identify resources. And again, this is still too early to determine what the needs are. So there are many conversations going on about what type of resources we might be able to deploy to help businesses. And as soon as we're aware of any additional resources, we would be sure to let you know and make you aware of what would be available. So.
Thank you. We have one question in the chat, and it is, I wanted to try and get what we are doing out there to help the community. We are gathering donations.
Actually, Dina, I can summarize that real quick for you.
Okay,
I read that. So it's basically one of the contractors on the call can't use their mic and they want to know how they can provide resources. So if you have anything that you would like to donate to the town or donate to those that are impacted, if you'd like to volunteer, if you have any ways that you can assist those that are impacted, we do have a volunteer form on our website, and that is the best way to get those information to our town so that we can deploy those resources if they would be a good fit for those that are impacted. So I will send an email to you at the contracting company with a link to that form, and we can try to get you connected so that you can offer those resources. Thank you.
Next, let's go to Sarah Sato.
Remember how to unmute. Hi, everybody.
Hi there.
So I'm at the Alpine Center for Diabetes. We're up kind of by the Key Bank building. And I want to thank everybody for the help that we've already received from the COVID pandemic. It's hard to have a business when there's a pandemic, you guys know. So we have concerns because we see patients in the office, and our biggest concern right now is how are we supposed to know when the building is safe? Yeah.
And I think Lane, would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, that is definitely a very challenging question. We've been working and bringing in certified industrial hygienists to try to figure out how are we going to really set levels of what really is safe. We're definitely have guidance on what cleanup is necessary, but then once you've done that, is there something you can do that gives you assurance that you did clean it up perfectly? And again, perfect is is not the world we're living in, and never really has been. But we're really working on that of what else can we give people, because there aren't really indoor air quality standards to come back against. So as far as monitoring, there's definitely hazards that we're concerned about for folks. So really, I think those processes of how you go about cleaning up and the things that you can do for, remediating and do that safely are where we're at. We do have folks working on monitoring both within the community and then some other additional indoor to get a sense of, are there any additional hazards right now so far, given that we finally did get the snow, unfortunately, later than when we needed it. A lot of that ash is either wet or still under snow. So our concerns are really ongoing as things melt and dry out and we see wind again, what are kind of those outdoor air concerns that eventually can still get back into businesses. So right now it's really cleaning out those systems, changing those filters and being prepared to change those into the future, especially if we see again, a lot of that ash or soot resuspended and blown around in the community. So a little bit of stay tuned on that. So as we can get more information from the hygienists, we will share that. But again, I think the processes for cleanup that have been outlined really will get people a long way to reestablishing places for safety. The water again already is safe. So it's really just a matter of flushing lines, dumping ice, and making that now with the water that's potable again. So and then again, indoor, the smell is probably going to be, your sense of smell is pretty sensitive. So the community, there is that smell of burn. So that's going to be ongoing for quite some time. So it's really looking at how you can clean your space indoor, change those filters regularly, but knowing that smell, that burn smell, is probably going to persist in the community for quite some time. You can smell it just even driving, through the community, let alone being in a space that was burned. So there's ability to bring in air filters, HEPA filters. You can put carbon, activated carbon that helps with smell. There might be even some remnants of taste in the water that are mostly cosmetic. Again, the municipality has done a great job to get the water back on. So, but again, a Brita carbon filter, charcoal filter will help take out some of those aesthetics in water. But as we get any additional information, we're happy to share it. And we're looking at how we can share actively the different air monitoring that is happening so people can see, what we know as real time as we can get it instead of waiting for kind of webinars. So definitely stay connected with the websites, both our Boulder County website and the Marshall Fire website.
We also have an influx of N95 masks that we are receiving from the county. We just got that information today, so we haven't quite figured out a strategy for getting those out to businesses, but more to come. And in our follow-up email, we'll let you know where you might access those, and then you could get those for yourself and your patients.
Great, thank you. Let's go to.
We had one more question also. Errol had a question about homeowners, and I just wanted to clarify if you could. You had mentioned something about the homeowner information that was shared last Friday, and
yeah, there was a meeting that was announced, and I wasn't able to attend because I was doing some other things. But I was just curious if anybody attended, any comments they might have.
Okay, I believe that all the homeowner meetings have been recorded. I'm not sure of one that was on Friday. What neighborhood do you live in?
Originally, it was Superior. And,
Original Superior?
Yeah, now I've moved from there since then.
Okay. All right. We have recordings, so I will get you a link to the recordings. All right, Dina.
I didn't see that message from Errol. So let's move on to Vin Lay, please.
Hi, thanks, Deanna, and good afternoon. Thank you also for hosting this virtual meeting and providing all the resources that can help not only the residents but the businesses as well. So my wife and I, my wife Trish, we own a nail salon called Nails and Spa. and next to the Whole Foods. Fortunately, our building was not affected. Just some minor cleanup and maintenance on the HVAC system. But we're open since Monday, and we're just trying to do our part to help the community. So we're donating for the first 2 months 20% of our profits to the Boulder County Wildfire Fund. But I guess my question is in regards to the residential homes that were impacted. Do you guys know in general if homeowners are required to rebuild their homes, or can they leave after the insurance claim is settled?
I will defer to the mayor if you don't mind answering that question, Mayor Folsom.
Thanks, Jill. I don't think there's any requirement to rebuild. I mean, you own the land, and assuming you pay off the mortgage, and you would still retain ownership of the land, and then you could, I mean, if you truly wanted to leave, or people wanted to just truly leave, you would have the asset of the land to either keep and build later or sell. So that's my understanding. Anyone else have any other thoughts or to add on that?
I see Dan is nodding.
See, now it's yes instead of no.
Yeah.
Rick?
In previous disasters that I've worked, that's been the case. In Louisiana, a lot of people decided to not rebuild in the location where the hurricane took their house. It's a very common thing. In an area like this, it's a little less common. And again, a lot of it is dependent on local ordinances. But there's no reason that, at least on the federal side, where they would not be able to. As a matter of fact, that's one thing that I didn't mention is you can use an SBA loan to relocate if you do not choose to rebuild in the same place. It's an aspect. It's not something that's really discussed in a disaster like this, because most people here are going to rebuild in the same spot that they did, that they were previously. In flooding situations, if it's a really high flood area, or if you're been hit by your third or fourth hurricane, a lot of people down there are opting to move further inland. So they're using the SBA disaster loan as part of that relocation effort.
My experience has been that the insurance money does cover whatever it covers, but it does not dictate how you spend the money. But to that point, okay, if you choose perhaps as an individual, you want to move on, whatever, you can sell the remaining property. And there are a lot of people out there wanting to rebuild houses. So that should be not a problem, especially some of these good locations in Superior. So yeah, that if we have a bunch of developers and what have you, that will jump in there and pick up the existing properties at whatever the value is.
I actually have a quick question for you, probably Clint. How are you guys going to be able to regulate the homes that are being rebuilt? Have you guys had that discussion yet? On like, just for example, in Rock Creek, there's a very specific look to the Rock Creek area downtown. That area had a very specific look to it. I'm just curious, and I'm sure that other people maybe they just didn't think to voice it.
Sure. The guiding document there is called the PD, the Planned Development. So the Sagamore community had a PD when it was built, and that guides the styles and so on that can be rebuilt. There's lot size limitations. The town board can make changes to that PD, and we may look to do that if we determine that some changes are made to facilitate building in an area that's been in existence 20 plus years, and maybe there's some changes that need to be made to that PD. Original Town Superior does not have a PD. It has just standard zoning, which regulates heights and setbacks from front, sides, and rear. But it does not guide any type of design standards. So that's original town Superior. So people can kind of do what they want in terms of style there within the confines of the zoning regulations. Rock Creek, much like Sagamore, has a PD, and it also has an HOA. Sagamore does not have an HOA, so there will be a little bit more coordination in the Rock Creek subdivision. Downtown Superior also has, of course, a PD and different variations there as well. So hopefully that answers that question.
The only other comment would be that if there had been a change in coding, code stuff as far as electrical, plumbing, and all that, they'd have to adapt to the new standards if they're going to rebuild.
That's correct. And there have definitely been building code changes, not only in Superior, but many communities in the years since these homes were built. And one of the most significant in Superior is the requirement that single family residences have fire sprinklers. And that's not a new thing. That's been on the books a couple of years, but that absolutely will be a cost addition, but it's one of the many cost additions. The cost of construction, materials, labor has, as everyone knows, has just skyrocketed. So we're also at the town considering some updates, considering adopting the 2021 building codes, but we're also very much aware that with any new code comes potential additional new costs. And so we're being very sensitive to that, recognizing that people are already under our current code going to be squeezed. And it's not just because of our current code, it's just really the increases in costs. So we want to be sensitive to that as we look to adopt potentially any new code.
So one to add on there real quick, Mayor, one of the things that we don't typically talk about for wildfires and that we do for a lot of flooding and hurricanes is mitigation.
Yes.
I'm going to preface this by saying we don't normally apply it to wildfire stuff, but you can get an additional 20% on top of the loan to help with funding mitigation efforts. And that could include anything from a different type of siding. Say you have cedar shake siding or something like that, and you want to go to something that's a little bit more fire retardant, or if you want to get some sort of sprinkler system installed, that's going to be a case-by-case basis, and you're going to work with the customer service representative and a loan officer to really drill down and determine exactly what's going to apply to your property. But that mitigation help is available through the SBA, and that's something that we see a lot of in the hurricane areas with building seawalls. The main thing is raising the house up to a higher level. That doesn't apply here, but right. you can find ways to mitigate against wildfire damage, creating the safe zone around your house if you're in an area that is a little bit more wooded.
Sure, that's a great point, Rick, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Sure.
We're definitely going to be looking to Boulder County and other jurisdictions that have fire resistant code components to them. Mountain communities, they have these requirements because those homes are more prone to fire damage. We're going to be looking at that. I mean, who would have ever thought that houses on a golf course in Louisville would burn down due to a wildfire? I mean, that's like the farthest thing from our mind. So I think what it proves, though, is that really any urban area where you have wind and combustible materials, you're susceptible to fire. So it's kind of incredible, but that is what it is. I think that's a great point that you brought up, though, about additional funding for this type of mitigation, because I think one of the biggest issues that we're seeing kind of looming on the horizon is this insurance gap. The gap between the amount of money that people have to rebuild and then the reality of the amount of money that it's going to cost for a builder to go out and do it. And that's going to include everything from, maybe some upgraded materials. Maybe you want some changes to the house anyway. But then I think the biggest variable is going to be the construction cost. So I think your point earlier about get over there and get registered with SBA so that you are kind of in a position to deploy those extra funds if you need it. I think that is really a key message here. So we need to definitely get that out to people.
So we can't use the term upgrade.
Okay. Thank you for
because
correcting me.
we have to bring you back to where you were pre-disaster.
Got it. Okay.
The caveat is that if there is mitigation that is needed,
got it.
We can't call that an upgrade, but I mean, in plain speak, you're upgrading your house to make it a safer area and be more resistant to potential disasters in the future.
Yes.
I don't know, Mayor, I don't know if you saw, there's a question, I think directly for you in the chat. So,
yes. If we could take a few more questions, that would be great before we end this. One of the questions is, Mayor, can you please confirm that the single family homes are required to have fire sprinklers?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, let's go to Wendy Pearson.
Hi, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm a Rock Creek resident of 20 years and small business owner in the Target Shopping Centre Superior Marketplace. So we're pretty much on track. Hopefully we're going to be reopening on January the 18th. So that's Tuesday. So fingers crossed. We've got all our remediation in there and cleaning, and it's all going okay. So I just wanted to thank the Chamber and thank the town, particularly Jill, who's been amazing, helping me with all my silly little questions, because none of us know what to do or where to go or who to go to. So I really appreciate that support that you've given us. So I did just have a couple of little questions. I'm guessing that the idle loan is not forgivable, like it was in COVID. Is that correct?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I can definitely guarantee you that it is not a forgivable loan.
I thought it wouldn't be, but I thought I might as well ask.
No,
right.
this is taxpayer money that we need to pay back.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
And does anybody know where we might get donated air purifiers from? And I'm asking because my insurance won't cover it because we didn't lose one, so they won't be giving us the industrial size that we need. So that's like an extra expense. So is anybody, do we know, giving air purifiers away? That would be lovely if maybe we could find that as a resource. And I know that Jill's probably tired of me saying this. I have a really big problem with our main landlords in the area. They've been particularly unkind. They didn't give us a single break in COVID, even when we were shut down in lockdown. So we still had to pay our rent. They had us pay our rent on January the 1st this year, even though we're closed. So, it's not kind and it's not good business. And I just heard today that 2 businesses just in my row are going to be not renewing their lease. And I think that it's our landlord that is really causing this difficulty. They're charging a hideously expensive amount, and I know we're in a good area, but they just seem really inflexible and unkind. So, and I did mention that when I went to DAC to Congressman Nagusa's office, and they have opened a file on that. But when you have got really small businesses, like mine is a really small business, I've only got 2 employees, one of those is part-time. It is impactful when you do have to come up with the rent and you do have to come up with all the equipment to replace so you can reopen, and it's just a lot. So I know that the SBA is offering the idle loan, but I needed it last week type thing. So it's difficult, and I'm wondering if the chamber or town is able to give us any support on, telling the landlord, and we all know who they are, that this is not okay.
Thank you. It does sound like we have spoken to Jill about that previously. So I think I'll have Jill just get back in touch with you after this call.
All right. That was my main gripe. And I just have one last question. Is the Chamber or the town able to help with marketing? Because obviously our client base is depreciated because, you know, a lot of people aren't living in the area, or they're, you know, it's just going to be difficult getting clients. So is there any support with marketing, you know, making sure that everybody knows that we're out there? That would be lovely if that's something that can happen.
Well, one of the best things about being a member of the Chamber of Commerce is you get the marketing machine. So if you would like to join, I sure would love to talk with you about our marketing efforts.
Thank you.
And this is also a really good time, you know, to let her know that we are going to undertake some marketing efforts to try to promote the resiliency of the town in general. We're not there yet. This is maybe a few more weeks out, but we definitely are going to be looking at promoting all of the businesses and the residents and the community and the success stories and the things that people have overcome, and really try to take advantage of the opportunity that we have with Superior being well positioned in the media right now. And so, yes, we are looking at definitely supporting the business community with marketing efforts. So thank you so much for asking.
And then next I see Nick has a hand up. Nick, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, please.
Oh, it's Janak. I've been used to that
Thank
since
you.
first grade, so no concerns there, no hurt feelings. Hey, so my name is Nick Janak, and I'm with Title Law Solutions. And I guess first we just want to say sorry to everyone all the businesses that have been affected, and everyone. I'm sure somebody on this call knows somebody directly impacted with their home and such. So again, we're sorry, and we're also here to answer any questions that you folks might have about your insurance policies, whether it be business, you know, homeowners, or rental. There's a number of things that I can help kind of address real quick, just as an example of some of the things that we can help with for the gals over at Fearless Dance. And your questions about BI, the insurance industry is famous for acronyms. So BI, meaning business interruption, would certainly pay for any loss of income, or to, you know, certainly pay you for any employees that have to be laid off due to the disaster. But I would also encourage you, and I say this strongly to anyone, is the insurance process is not the quickest process. So I would encourage you to get a hold of any resources that are out there. And you know, there's been some great conversation on here, the resources that are available. And I would certainly encourage you to go ahead and move forward with those as soon as possible. What's going to happen for any of the businesses, if you have an insurance claim and you do have business interruption issues, typically most carriers, they're going to go ahead and hire an accountant, and they're going to have you hire an accountant. And then those two accountant firms will work through the differences. And that's at that time, you can disclose to them, hey, we received some money from SBA to help, or one of the, you know, Boulder County programs or something like that to help with unemployment or for your staff. And the accountants will work out that difference. So there won't be any overlap, or you don't have to feel like you're double dipping or anything like that. It'll all get worked out. The primary thing is just making sure that you and your employees are taken care of, and everything will come out in the wash as far as the insurance claim is concerned. For Earl brought up a really good point about the moving and stuff like that. And I think Mayor Clint, you know, touched on it very well. For Earl, the one thing is just to be careful if there's anyone that you're talking with that may want to relocate or just doesn't want to rebuild. You can do whatever the heck you want to do with the actual cash value payment or the ACV payment that the insurance company provides you. Okay. But you are not entitled to depreciation, at least in 99% of the policies I've ever worked with, if you don't rebuild. So that's always kind of a sticky point there is, okay, we don't want to stay in our home. We want to move. You're really only going to have, again, typically, I haven't seen anybody's policy to date, but you're typically only going to be able to walk away with that actual cash value money. And then, as Mayor Clinton said, you would always have the right to, you know, retain that asset and sell that lot. To Mayor Clint, I really appreciate your comments on the building code concerns. This is kind of twofold response, but most policies, especially most homeowners policies and most commercial policies, although most commercial policies are very limited in their coverage, most homeowners policies do include a very substantial, or typically about 10% of the home's value for what's called building code upgrade coverage, or you know, increased cost of construction. And that would then be used for sprinkler systems, siding updates, anything of that sort, electrical and so on and so forth, that a homeowner or again, a business might need to use, as part of that rebuilding process. So hopefully that'll be helpful. The one thing I was going to mention with Mayor Clinton, just considerations of moving to the 2021, I can't say this about all carriers, but some carriers are very firm on enforcing the building code that was enforced on the date of loss. So in other words, as an example, let's say currently the city of Superior does not require sprinkler systems, but you folks brought that in as a new requirement. A lot of insurance companies are again going to default back to what was the municipality's enforced code on the date of loss. Therefore, those people rebuilding would not be, able to recoup that cost via their insurance policy and that, business or the building code upgrade coverage.
Thank you so much, Nick. If you don't mind, this is a lot of great information. Maybe we can set up a time that you can share this with me and then I can help get this out. It sounds like a lot of this is around homeowner related topics. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just want to say thanks for letting us participate, and we're here to help. So.
Sure, thank you. And we had one last question in the chat, and it was about whether the town was going to endorse and support resources that might be available through the state. And we are definitely pursuing that as aggressively as possible. So we're sitting on many different committees, various different staff people, various different trustees, and we're trying to identify resources that might be available to help with recovery efforts. And as soon as those are determined, we will be happy to share them with you.
I do see one more chat question from Errol. It says, given materials can be purchased at significantly lower prices in bulk, has any builder indicated that they will be providing build purchases? For instance, I purchased complete ship, rail, truckloads of lumber, etc.
Yeah, I think it's still too soon to be at that point, but we're definitely trying to, just like with the debris removal, we're on the debris removal with the county to try to offset the costs and to realize economies of scale and make it most efficient. So as we get to that point, we definitely will be looking at that. All right, Dina, I'll turn it over to you to wrap up.
All right. I do want to just say, are there any last minute questions from people that are on the telephone that could not raise their digital hand? I don't see too many phone calls that I can tell, but I did want to give a chance. Anyone on a phone call? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will set this recording on our website, the superiorchamber.com website. And then I will also email out any resources that we shared with you today, and then also links to all the resource websites as well. So please, again, get in touch with Jill or I at any time by email or phone, and we would like to help you through this process.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our speakers. Take care.